Hello, my name is Alex Gonzalez, and I'm going to be talking today about different DevSecOps tools that I found and some that I had implemented in order to find security vulnerabilities. So first, I'm going to talk about CVEs on third-party libraries, as well as how to find obsolete dependencies in your project. Code quality, which is PMD, not really related to security, but important for best practices. GitLab and the security offer that it has, and another open source scanning tools, including OWASP projects. So the first ones that I'm going to be talking about are it's going to be Dependency Check, which is the analyzer for security vulnerabilities on third-party libraries. It offers different output formats for the report. I'm going to be using HTML, although JSON and CSV are really useful as well when you have some internal reporting tools that get the data and then transform it to a more friendly format or executive summary or so. So Kafka is the project that I'm using right now to be scanned, and Kafka has multiple releases already in the upstream platform. So one of the versions that was released time ago was 2.3.1. As you see in 2.3.1, there were many security vulnerabilities listed over here on different group artifact versions of the libraries. This doesn't really mean that all of these are having or are compromising our project or Kafka in particular, because some of them might be used for testing purposes. Their scope is testing, or their scope is compiled. So those are used internally in the project, but not when we're distributing the project. So there might be also the case where there might be false positives, and dependency check has a way to report those false positives by suppressing them. So if we move up to the version 2.4.1, if you see, we still had it for Kafka, and this is Scala 2.12 Kafka. So it's the jar that I'm using to scan it. I'm being consistent with the 2.12, but I'm moving up with the versions of this Scala jar. In 2.4.1, there were the same one. There were a lot, and in 2.5.0, if you see there was a lower number of vulnerabilities found. In 2.5.1, which was a patch, it seems that many other vulnerabilities were added, and in 2.6.0 those were removed, and 2.6.0 and 2.7.0 are pretty much the similar. So, but it's not the same. For example, data bind was an important one, and data bind existed in 2.6.0, and now it has been solved in 2.7.0. So these are the different reports that I was able to get from different versions of Kafka. So this report is going to tell us what is the CVE, even the license of the particular library that we're using, and sometimes we have a recommendation of how to fix it. Normally, is upgrading the library to a version where the CVE no longer exists. That might be a challenge sometimes because the API might have changed a little bit, and we need to adapt our project to the new API or so. Sometimes the community has not had the chance to fix it, or there is not a clear fix yet, so we need to wait for a resolution or change the library that is used for another one if there is a critical or supercritical problem on the third-party library. That's in regards CVEs on third-party libraries. For obsolete dependencies, I can share that I have created a script that basically it gathers all the libraries of the Kafka project that are used, and then it's gonna look into Maven if those are obsolete. So I found that 91 libraries are being used in Kafka, and if you see, for example, here I'm looking into the group JavaX activation, artifact activation, and the version 111, and I found that, is it obsolete? It's not. So it's good. So most of them are not obsolete. So for the one that is true, it's 2 of them. Log4j. Let's take a look to it. Oh. Yeah, this artifact was moved to log4j core, so we instead should be using this. And metric score library changed seems like it changed the group, right? So what if we don't do or use the right library? If what we're using is an obsolete library, it means that the community might not be actively fixing it. Actually, it's not. So we have the risk of having a security vulnerability over there. Again, if it's in a library used for testing or build or so, then we don't need to worry about any risk on the or compromising our project, in this case Kafka. Now the next project is not related to security, or not related to DevSecOps, but it's a great tool that I found, which is called PMD. And PMD is a tool for code quality. This is going to help us to find, for example, if the abstract class doesn't contain any abstract methods, which is a problem, then it shouldn't be an abstract class, probably. Or if we're accessing private fields or methods from another class. We shouldn't, because those are private fields. We need to use set or get. Yeah, so there is different best practices that it's gonna help to improve the quality of the code. And I have run this PMD project over Kafka, and I have found on a task called Quick Start that there are different recommendations. For example, this simple example message data, I have it on the over here. Let's find it. So I'm gonna show you, for example, this is useless parentheses. And if you see, it's saying that we don't need this parentheses, right? And that's okay. It's probably a coding style, but it's suggesting that it's useless, right? And over these regular expressions that you see, it says that the local variable name doesn't match with the regular expression because it's starting with an underscore. So it's saying that probably we shouldn't be using those. Another, yeah, like this one, right? Avoid empty if statements, 798. If you see, we have an if condition over here that doesn't have any code inside. So probably this condition should be changed to not equal to null. Those are the types of recommendation that PMD does. Also, if you are looking for something more particular, it has some categories for what you want to scan. For example, this other scan over Kafka, it's looking for unused code. If I take this, it says that avoid using the variables such as formatter, and that's because, you're going to see in a second, forgot the line. 83, yeah. So if you see here, we have an object called formatter that is not used anywhere in the function. So it has found, the PMD has found, and is recommending not to, or to remove this line, basically, right? So yeah, not all of them, as all the scanning tools are real issues. Sometimes those are false positives, but in any case, it's a great tool to improve the quality of our code. Now, next topic, I'm going to talk about GitLab really quick. GitLab has a security offer to scan dependencies, licenses, SAS, code quality as the previous. Probably they are using the open source project that I just mentioned. I tried to make usage of GitLab, but I found this problem that says no matching file, and I found that this problem 4 weeks ago hasn't been yet resolved ish. So yeah, I didn't spend much time on it, but the thing is that GitLab is gonna show us the trend of the CVEs or security vulnerabilities that are found over a period of time, right? So this is kind of helpful to understand where we are and when. And the vulnerability report also helps us to identify different CVEs. And yeah, I wish I would have that as a demo, but I don't. So I just found the documentation of what's the offer of GitLab. Now it's pricey. It might be very pricey, such as 45, which is $5,000 the license per month, or Black Dog, that is for CVEs on third-party libraries and licensing. It's a $5,000 per month, and this pretty much, depending on the number of users, is going to be close to the same amount, right? It's going to be around 5,000 maybe. So these are expensive commercial tools, but there is fortunately open source projects that we can use for example, and this is the almost last couple of websites that I want to show you. There is SAS Scan. This is an open source project that is going to help us to identify SASTs. This is kind of the example or the report that you are going to get from the scan. It looks pretty friendly, and it's also telling you what are the CVEs and CWEs and the line number where the problem was detected and what files it was detected from, etc. So this seems to be one alternative to GitLab. As well, GitLab offers license scanning, and there is a scan code toolkit, which is a scanning tool for licenses, copyrights. So I haven't tried these two yet, but for what I see, those are promising. And yeah, I think I'm gonna play with them and try to find a way to make them work on Kafka again. And also another, let's say, way to improve and understand what's the code quality of the project is to find what are the dependencies that are not used. Sometimes developers or we are adding the libraries, and we just probably it's an obsolete library that we stopped using because it's obsolete, and then we didn't remove it from the build part, which is Gradle, and then we're gonna, I mean, it's not going to be a big deal, but we don't want it there, right? It's better not to have it if we're not using it. And finally, I want to mention really quick, here, pretty much all of the tabs that I have open are for the different security scans tools that I have found, but two in particular are very interesting to me. The first one is Labs. Labs is going to look for injection of untrusted data to manipulate the behavior of the application, as you can see here. And what I like from this one is that it's going to look pretty much for all the things that you are going to look for on penetration testing. such as SQL injection and XPath injection, XML injections, and cookie poisoning, etc. So if you're planning to execute penetration testing on your project, probably it's worth looking into labs to do one scanning on by yourself first and fixing all of those, so the contractors will use their time in a better way to find other type of security vulnerabilities, and not the same ones that you can get from labs. That's what I like. And I haven't really tried this yet, but this is as well promising. And the last project that I'm going to mention is Horizon project from OWASP, and this one is going to look for security vulnerabilities as well, but it's going to do it through Java standalone tools packed in jar files, for example, or web applications packed in EAR and WAR files. So yeah, this is promising as well. I would like to try it and see how useful it might be. So that's it. I hope that you learned something from here, and any questions you might ping me on my Twitter account at KOZLEX, Gonzalez. Thank you.